Hey everyone, it's Jensen again. So we're gonna stick probably with one video a week now that there's not the weekly college football, games to go over and to review. But so big things going on in the world of sports. The Olympics are over. There weren't any other big stories in the Olympics. The only things, Russia cheats, no surprise there. And then I really liked Michaela Schifrin, even though she didn't medal at all. She kept on going, which I think is all you can ask for in an athlete. Just keep on trying. So those are the big Olympic stories. It's a shame that like some of the really entertaining events they don't show on the NBC. NBC's, the ratings tanked, but part of that is because it shows that people don't really care about our country much anymore. Not that like you have to care about the Olympics to care about our country, but when the people as a whole are very patriotic, then it doesn't really matter what's going on. They go USA. It could be a Go Fish tournament and you're going to be rooting for US over whoever. But with such low, I think, respect and reverence and all of the above for the United States of America, our country itself. That's why the Olympic ratings would be down. All right. Other big stories. The women's national soccer team, they won their they didn't win their case. They got their case settled that said they were being unfairly paid due to the agreement that they agreed to and bargained with to create it, in which they were getting more of a share than the men did. But anyways, good for them. They, like I said, my biggest thing wasn't that they couldn't get paid more. I don't care. If the U.S. Soccer Federation wants to pay the women more, go for it. That doesn't bother me. The thing that always has bothered me is the point that they are claiming that they're doing the same thing that the guys are doing. No, they're not. They're playing against different levels of competition. It's not the same thing. High school football is not the same as college football. College football is not the same as the NFL. Heck, even in the professional leagues, the XFL that's coming in is not going to be the same as the NFL. It's going to be a feeder league, a development league. And no, the women aren't developing for the men's game, but they're on different levels completely. Not saying one is better than the other, but they're just different. And that was my point. I can't stand the argument, we're doing the same thing as the men. No, you're not. You're doing something different. You're playing women's soccer. Now, some people think that's better than men's soccer because they sure win a lot and the men don't, but you're not doing the same thing. Whatever. Again, the pay thing doesn't bother me. I think it's ridiculous. I think their arguments were absurd, especially because they bargained for their previous agreement. But whatever. It was the climate of the day. They could, argue and complain about whatever and get whatever. This does lead into the whole trans, athletes going on, and Leah Thompson, the guy that's swimming as a girl because he's transitioning or whatnot for Penn, is it? I don't know, some Ivy League school, and he went out and he set a bunch of records, beating all the girls. Surprise, surprise. Why do I bring him up? I've already said my point about that. But the point is, if it gets to the point where the girls' team is getting paid more, has more benefits and whatnot, we live in a country of trolls. All you have to do is look online and see that it is just full of trolls. Now, a lot of the time, I think it's quite funny. Some of the time, it's quite over the top and shouldn't happen. But my my point is, if they don't think that supporting all these issues isn't going to lead to a bunch of trolls, a bunch of guys that are just going to say, I could make a ton of money pretending to be a girl, and then do that. They've got another thing coming for them. Because women, in all the women's sports, I may be mistaken, but I believe that women's soccer here in the United States is by far the biggest. It's a lot more popular than like the WNBA that no one watches. There's some other niche sports. I think women's tennis has been pretty big with Serena Williams and whatnot. But I think women's soccer is the biggest of all the women's sports. And you're gonna get some guys that are just gonna be trolls, and they're gonna say, well, I can, I'm an average, a college soccer player. Let's get a bunch of us together, and boom, we are now the women's national team because we are bigger, stronger, and faster than everyone on this team, and so we will take all their spots, and then you no longer have what it should be. So I think you should also be careful in saying that you're doing the same thing when you're not doing the same thing, and then saying that men are the same thing as women when they're not. And it's all a big slippery slope. And I know some people think that that's just a fallacy, but it's not a fallacy when it will actually happen. And if you can't see that some trolls are going to do that, I've got another thing coming for you. So, it's just ridiculous. So, like I said, I don't care about what they're getting paid. It's the argument that they're doing the same thing. That's the biggest thing that I complain about on that. So, but good for the women's national team. They settled and they'll get more money. The other big news that was going on, unfortunately, with the end of football, we have to turn our focus a little bit more to the drama league. That is the league that no one really cares about what's going on the court, but the league of just a bunch of pansy babies that are me, and that's the NBA. And no one embodies this more than LeBron James, who was front and center at the All-Star game, and he was just on there going, oh, well, I can leave. I might want to join Cleveland now that Cleveland is good without him. All of a sudden, he might want to come back after he basically destroyed them when he went. he built it all up around himself, and then they miraculously got a championship that they were pretty lucky to get, but they did. They won it fair and square. And then, everything's built around him just the way he wants it. And miraculously, then it falls apart and it's garbage and they have to completely rebuild. He leaves, goes to the Lakers, and has done the same thing with the Lakers. He destroyed the entire team and built it the way he wanted it to be built. And they did manage to get a championship. I think it's a lucky championship that should have an asterisk. Not that they didn't rightfully win it, but it was in the bubble and it wasn't. Okay, here's one thing with sidetrack on this, and then I'll get back to my main point. But LeBron James has had the easiest way to his championships of any big NBA player ever. The teams, when he was in the East, there was no good teams in the East. And when there was a good team in the East, which was only for a couple years, it was the Boston Celtics, he lost to them. And then they fell apart and he pilfered their team and got some of the... and then now that he's in the West, well, who's good in the West? It's like he'll pick and choose whichever conference is the weaker. Unlike the late Kobe Bryant, he went through some tough teams. It was them, the Lakers, and the Spurs, and the Suns were good, and the Mavericks were good. In the East, when LeBron was going through, there was literally no one there. It was an easy road, and he still has managed to barely win any championships. That is all I'm saying. I shouldn't say barely any. He does have 4 championships. So I'm not saying he's not a good player, but the problem is he's like, oh, I can leave, I can blow it up. Sure, the Lakers have done everything I asked them to do, and they brought all the players that I wanted and got rid of all the players I didn't want. But now that we're not good because they listened to me, I may leave. And I want to team up with my son, which, teaming up with your son, whatever, but it's just a joke. And the problem with that is everyone around the league copies LeBron James. They're all a bunch of whiny me first babies. Zion Williamson, who's always hurt, is now, I'm working out, I'm good. Granted, I never play, but I may need better teammates. I may need to go to a different place. It's the entire league. When Michael was the face of the league, you got a bunch of ruthless killers like, Kobe Bryant, like Paul Pierce, like Shaq and Reggie Miller and all these people that were like, no, I'm not going to be your friend. I'm going to try and win a championship. Now that you have LeBron James as the face of the league, it's all, let's all come together, sing Kumbaya and anoint me the king. And I'm the GOAT. I am the best of all time. And no, you're not. You're one of the, I probably put him as the second best basketball player of all time, but he's also one of the worst when it comes to like being a teammate off the court. Like, he destroys teams. There's a reason why, everywhere he has left has just cratered. It's because they listened to him and did what he wanted to do. Unlike Michael Jordan had lots of players that he wanted, and the general manager was like, no, I'm going to bring these guys in. And what did they do? They won. And what did Michael Jordan do? He just went out and played. LeBron James, he just goes out and complains and whines and then leaves. And it's a joke. So, yeah, that was the All-Star game. The All-Star game is a joke, but it's just, he's actively trying to recruit to go to another team while he's under contract with the Lakers. It's absurd. It's awful. He's extremely talented and one of the best ever and one of the worst ever, all at the same time. He's just a joke. And yeah, go and look at his roads to the NBA finals. He literally basically went through almost no one ever to get to the finals. He has that big record streak. Oh, look, he went to the finals all these years. But who did he beat? He beat like Roy Hibbert and the Pacers. He beat an ailing and old Detroit Pistons team and then got swept by the Spurs. He beat a Celtics team that was falling apart and old after they had come together with the big three. There was no one he ever, and then in the bubble, who did he beat? Well, he didn't beat, he beat a bunch of teams that didn't have their star players and ended up miraculously getting by the Denver Nuggets. Big power there. It's just, he's had, a lucky and, an easy way of not going through the toughest talent. He's always been in the weaker side of things. So anyways, that's my LeBron James little rant and why the NBA is garbage. The other things that are going on, college basketball, which is much more entertaining. We had the Michigan situation where the coach, threw a punch. He should be suspended or fired. They did give him 5-game suspension. I'm okay with that. Give him another chance. I'm all for second chances, but it was pretty ridiculous, especially when he calls timeout. He got all upset that a timeout was called when he does the same thing. Hello, hypocrite. The trade deadline's coming up in the NHL, so we'll see who are the buyers and who are the sellers there. That should be good. And then college basketball, we're near the end. We'll be talking about selections here pretty soon, so that should be pretty entertaining. Anyways, that's all I've got. Have it so good. Bye.